a woman who will always be a debutante, having a unique nickname of 18. She wants to be recognized first and foremost as a God-loving and God-fearing Christian, supportive wife to Eric, nurturing mother to Nika and Jico, a devoted daughter, loving sibling and in-law, a loyal friend, and a passionate educator. She thirsts in bringing the best out of everyone, especially in her students. She finished her undergraduate studies in BS Psychology from the University of Santo Tomas and took postgraduate units in Industrial Organizational Psychology from the University of the Philippines and Values Education from Miriam College. She is a Master of Arts degree holder in Education, major in Special Education. Likewise, from Miriam College, she is currently a doctorate degree candidate in Child and Family Studies, also in Miriam College. Having spent most of her life, grade school, high school, and graduate school, and where she served as a guidance counselor as her first job in the lush greens of Marino, now known as Miriam College, is what influenced her the most in defining her stance in life, creatively forming herself as a woman leader in service. Founding partner and program and services director of A-Firm Consultancy Services Incorporation, founder and executive director of Psychoeducational Assessment and Therapy Center for At-Risk and Exceptional Children, founding partner and licensed real estate broker of Realist Property Corporation, associate counselor and training consultant of Reintegration for Care and Wellness Center Foundation Incorporation. Just like most of us, she has been tried and tested many, many times in all facets of her life. But as the old saying goes, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going and going and going. She willingly shares her God-given talents in her multidisciplinary fields of interest to all those who are willing to listen. Ladies and gentlemen, God's masterpiece, Miss Josephine La Chica Umali, fondly called by everyone as Miss 18 or Miss Amazing. Let's give her a round of applause.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes
Yes po,
po.
loud and
Yes
clear.
po. Yes
Yes,
po,
Yes
great,
po.
great,
ma'am.
great.
Loud and clear.
Yes po.
So, maraming salamat for that introduction, Casey. Cassandra, sorry, Cassandra. First and
My
foremost,
pleasure, ma'am.
amazing day to everyone. Let us begin and end each day with a prayer. I'd like to thank, of course, Our Lady of Perpetual Health, Soccer, the President, Dr. Armida Samaniego, our junior high school principal, Miss Perpetua P. Hernandez, and of course the administrators, the faculty, and most especially the parents of grade 7 to 10 students of Our Lady or Perpetual Health Soccer. So amazing day to all of you. I'd like to make a shout out, of course, to Miss Grace Padua, the head of the guidance and career development of OLOPS, for inviting me to be your guest speaker for today. Napakasipag ni Miss Claire Padua. She actually is also finishing her dissertation and soon to be Dr. Claire Padua. So thank you very much for the invitation again. So let's get right on it. So our topic for today that was requested of me is intentional parenting, parental support during COVID-19. So just to level off some expectations, kindly turn on your video, parents, mumshies and daddies. I want to see your beautiful and handsome faces and to see your reaction as well. That can really help me greatly. Turn your mic off. However, I will have some questions and answers for you to be able to be more active and interactive with me. However, the Q&A will be after the talk, but you can already start making your comments and questions in the chat box. They are very much welcome. Just kindly type it as we go on. Miss Claire Padua will gather it, and then so that in the Q&A we have already questions that we can answer as we go along. Okay, so first and foremost, this is what we're going to do. When I say intentional, you have to turn on your mic and answer me parenting. Okay, clear, parents, so that it will be more interactive. When I say parenting, you turn on your mic and you say intentional. So that's our Q&A at the very beginning. Intentional? Turn on your mic.
Parenting.
Great, 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 great. Thank you for
Parenting.
participating. The other one is I'll say, God is good, and your answer
All
is
the time.
all the time.
All the
Yes,
time.
all the time. And
Sorry
then when
naman.
I
All the
say
time.
all the time, you say
That's
God
good.
is
Good.
good. Yes. So I'm going to do that along the way so that I can just hear your voices so that it will be more interactive and connected. We'll bond through that. Okay, parents? Intentional?
Parenting.
Parenting.
God is good.
All the time.
All the
Yes.
time.
And then don't forget, turn off your mic after. So this is a activity also of their dexterity. So turn on, turn off, turn on, turn on. Parang yung panahon natin, di ba? Wipe on, wipe off. Okay. Next. So this talk is very interesting and very relevant during this time. In fact, when I was preparing for this talk, I looked at the icon or the image, the logo of Our Lady of Perpetual Soccer College. And you know what I saw? I saw a relationship of a parent to a child. So this is very timely. Parent and a child. So the parent, of course, is Mama Mary. Look at the eyes of Mama Mary in the logo. It is full of compassion. It is looking at the world, hindi word, world. It's looking at the world. And why is it looking at the world? Because Our Lady of Perpetual Soccer is about assistance, help. Help for whom? At this time that we have right now during this pandemic, people are suffering. And Our Lady is looking at that. Not only the world as a whole, but the suffering, the individual anxiety and worries, kasama tayo doon, that Our Lady is looking at. Look at the hands of Our Lady. He is holding the hands of Jesus, lifting him as if saying, you are not alone. Here is my son. Ganda, di ba, the message? And then Jesus, on the other hand, if you look at him, his eyes is looking at what? At the cross being carried by the angel Gabriel. Because each child has a purpose. Okay? As parents, we have to be able to realize that immediately, that as soon as the child is in a womb during the conception, the meeting of the sperm and the egg during the conception, that child already has a purpose. And Jesus is looking at his purpose, which is the cross. He knows that he's going to suffer and die for our sins. However, he is resting his hands on Mary, holding it as if saying, you are not alone. Here is my mother. So it really is a relationship between a parent and a child. This image of Our Lady of Perpetual Soccer. And Jesus is very obedient to whom? To both God and earthly parents. Jesus trusted and obeyed Mary and Joseph according to his purpose. He humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death to God. And Mary and Joseph, on the other hand, are also very obedient and trusting. When the angel appeared to Mary and said, "Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with you," and she was told that she's going to be the mother of the Lord and Savior of the world, she said, "Behold, I am the handmaid of the Lord, let it be done to me according to thy words." Joseph, at the beginning, has some hesitation, but the angel appeared to him and he accepted Mary to be his wife. And not only that, he accepted the baby and the womb and followed what the angel said to name the child Emmanuel. And that is why God's name is Jesus, just as God has commanded. So ang ganda ng relationship ni Mary at saka ni Jesus, ni Joseph at saka ni Jesus. In Luke 2:49-52, diba, nawala si Jesus in the temple, Mary found him. Alam nyo, I lost my kid in SM. And I panicked the whole 30 minutes that I couldn't find her. Imagine Mary and Joseph losing Jesus for 3 days. And the journey is not easy. They have to go up the mountains, down the hill, up the mountains again in the rolling terrain, and then found him in the temple with the teachers. And Mary said, "Son, why have you treated us this way? Your father and I are very anxious searching for you." And Jesus said, "Why are you searching for me? Don't you know that I have to do my father's work in my father's house?" They did not understand that. Did Jesus say, "Iwanan niyo ako dito. Go, 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 go"? No, Jesus went with them and became obedient to them. These things, Mary, as a parent, treasured this in his heart. And Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. The first miracle of Jesus, which is turning water into wine, was because of Mary. Ganun ang relationship nila. They're bonded together from birth up to the last moment of Jesus here on earth. And Jesus said, when Mary went to him and said, they have no wine anymore. And Jesus said, "Woman, why do you do this to me? My hour has not time. My hour has not come yet." But did Jesus not perform the miracle? Mary said, "Okay, I understand." And she said to the servant, "Do whatever he tells you." And Jesus did what Mary asked of him. He turned the water into wine. When given the gift and the burden of being the parents of Jesus Christ, it's not just a gift, it's also a burden. Ang hirap kaya maging magulang. Maging magulang pa kaya ni Jesucristo. Both Mary and Joseph said yes. They both trusted and obeyed God fully and completely according to God's purpose of who Jesus is. And that, my friends, dear parents, administrators, faculty, and staff of Our Lady of Perpetual Help Occur, is what intentional parenting is all about. It is conscious effort to be a parent despite the gifts and the burden of it. So how do I now become an intentional parent during this pandemic? Meron tatlong katanungan kailangan nating sagutin. Do I need it? Kailangan ko ba? Do I want it? Gusto ko bang maging intentional parent? Can I do it? Kaya ko ba maging intentional parent? These questions you will have to process later on after our talk, after our seminar, and then really get to the bottom of it. Kailangan ko ba? Gusto ko ba? Kaya ko ba? And then, just like the tests of our children, where in their critical thinking is tested, and how they're able to qualify, not just quantify things, you have to answer why or why not. Explain your answer. Diba? Ang hirap naman ito, teach. Sasagutin ng oo o hindi, and then why or why not. But that's just how processing is. You really have to get to the bottom of it. Do you want to become an intentional parent? Do I need it? Do I want it? Can I do it? Okay. So what are we really as parents is? Hindi tayo pwedeng maging magulang kung wala tayong anak. Hindi tayo pwedeng maging anak kung wala tayong mga magulang. So it really is a connection between the two. A parent and a child immediately becomes a relationship. Anong klaseng relasyon ang meron tayo sa ating mga anak? And this is where the generational thing happens. Iba-iba kasi ang henerasyon na pinanggalingan natin. Today is year 2021. We are more than a year into the pandemic. You are parents of grade 7 to 10. Approximately their age is 12 to 16. But I'm sure you also have other children. Some of you have your other children, either older or younger than your grade 7 to grade 10 children in Our Lady of Perpetual Soccer. So, nasaan ka dyan? Kasi sila, yung ages 12 to 16, which actually starts from 9 to 24, they are Generation Z. So right away, iba ang henerasyon na nila. Ako, I belong to the Generation X, 41 to 56 years old. Some parents are very young. You probably are still millennials, 25 to 40 years old. Or some of you might be in the, with me, Generation X. Okay. My parents are not baby boomers. They're actually from the silent generation. If my mom and dad were alive today, they would have been 78. Okay? Merong bang umaabot sa greatest generation? Do we still have one in this world right now who is still alive? Yes, we do. We actually have Kanit Tanaka. She is 118 years old. Trivia lang yan. Okay? Ang dami niyang bonus na years. Kasi for Filipinos, ang death year natin is approximately, according to World Bank research, is 68 years old. She is 118 years old. She's a Japanese. God is good!
All the
Pindot.
All the
Yes!
time.
Amen to that.
Yes.
Amen. Okay.
All the
Mute again,
time.
mute. Mute again, mute it, mute. Thank you for that. Galing, nakikinig. So, what is actually parenting? Kailangan pareho tayo ng level. No? We come from the same space when we talk about parenting. So parenting is something that you support your child intellectually. It's cognitive. Okay? From when? From conception, habang nasa sinapupunan pa lang, to adulthood. To death, actually. So it's actually from womb to tomb. Support the child emotionally, socially, psychologically, spiritually. Development, again, from conception to adulthood. And then the bottom line is to successfully raise a child with its gifts and burdens, and daming talents, and daming skills, and daming kakayahan. Pero merong intricacies and challenges, issues and concerns that we are also battling on. No, it's easier for me, it's easier actually to put up a business, run a business, be an entrepreneur, be a corporate person, be an educator, than raising a child, raising a teenager, to be specific. But we have to be a parent from conception to adulthood. So it's cognitive, affective, behavioral, spiritual, buong buo na katauhan ng ating mga anak. We have to be a parent to them. I thought when my children are going to be adults, now they're both adults, I have sumabit pa siya sa Generation Z, and one is a millennial. So they're both adults, 18 years old and above. They're legally have personalities of their own, but I am still a parent. I will forever be a parent to them, even if they have children of their own. So being a parent is an everyday thing. Kaya nga parenting, my ing, it continues on and on and on. However, it has this. As an intentional parent, it involves genetics, organic, developmental, dynamic, independent, and dictum-oriented. When we say genetic, it is related to our genes, our heredity in the family. It's something that is being passed on from one generation to the other. We have genes that predispose us to anger. Pero mga ganong pamilya, that there's a predisposition to anger. There's that high level probably of cholesterol that just raises up the BP, no? Physical, physiological, and then it brings about anger. There are also families that are predisposed to being just warm, very loving, very caring. There are also families that are predisposed to being mathematicians, doctors, lawyers, educators. And these are patterns as well that are being passed on from one generation to the other. Some of the things that our parents did to us are very effective, but some of them might not be relevant anymore, especially during this time of the pandemic. Second is, in order to be an intentional parent, we have to be organic. What does that mean? It has to come from within. It has to be internally referent. I am motivated to be an intentional parent from within. Not because I see it in Facebook, not because I see it in Twitter, not because I see it in TikTok. It's because it's coming from within that I want to be a intentional parent. It's looking at your child with what they have rather than what they do not have. Gusto mo ang anak mo maging doktor, lawyer. But that's not the skill set, the talent, the intellectual, the social, the behavioral skills that he or she has. She wants to become a chef. And you say, ano naman kaya ang mangyayari sa anak ko? Magiging chef. Ako maging doktor. So it's looking at what they have rather than what they do not have. And develop it. Develop that to strengthen what they have. Hopefully, yung weakness nila, with their strength, we can help them out using their strength. Baka posible pa maging doktor. Baka posible maging lawyer. But look at what they have first. Okay? That's organic. Organic also means a relationship among the family members, because being a parent is a parent to one child. It's a parent to two child, three child, four children. Ang older child mo ba is your husband? Is he the eldest child? Ako, mahihirap-hirapan tayo mag-parenting if yung asawa mo mismo is also, or yung wife mo mismo becomes like a child to you. So it's a relationship in the family which has to work harmoniously so that you become whole. We cannot become perfect. No family is perfect, just as no individual is perfect. We're not aiming for perfection. Walang perfecto. We're aiming for a harmonious wholeness. Buo. Buo ang bawat miyembro ng pamilya as an individual. Buo ang pamilya as connected, bonded. Okay? Now, it is also developmental. Having developmental, it goes from one stage to the other. It progresses along the way. So growing well adjusted to the changing times and circumstances. We cannot parent the child now the way we parent them before the pandemic. There are things that we did that are effective then, but might not be effective now. There are things that we are doing now might not be effective after this pandemic. So we look at the circumstances that surround it. That's why it's developmental. So from a young infant, what is it that your child's characteristic is or are? And then naging toddler, and then naging young child, and then naging middle child, and then naging older child, and then naging young adolescent, and then young adult, and then adulthood, so forth and so on. So iba-iba. But as parents, we also have other children. So we have to, in a way, multitask sa mga anak natin. Kasi yung isa is already in college, yung isa nasa high school. I think one of the microphones are, yes, thank you. And then, merong isa, they are in grade school. So all of these iba-ibang characteristics, and we have to be a parent, adjust, readjust, adjust again, because parenting a toddler is so different from parenting someone who is in grade school and someone who is in college. Francis Kong spoke within Durant College, and he said, parenting is a privilege and not a birthright. Parents have to acquire and update our skills as parents, because some of our skills before are no longer effective. Okay? Now, another part, di ba, intentional parent. We also have to be dynamic. Ang daming requirement para maging intentional parent. What does it mean to be dynamic? We have to have a positive attitude, full of energy, full of zest, full of new ideas. Be creative, especially during this time of pandemic. Since we cannot go out with them and bond with them, watching movie, for example, or going to a place where we can bond as well with other families, we have to be more creative now. How do you do movie viewing right now, probably in your own TV, you make your own popcorn, you prepare all of these things. And how do I now work with a child that I actually do not see before the pandemic, because I was so busy with work, she's busy with school, and now all of a sudden we're all put together in one home. So how do I become creative and dynamic about that? Being an intentional parent also means interdependent. We have to be interdependent. If we have a spouse, so some parents, they are single mom, single dad, but they also have people who support them for their parenting. Probably is their mother or their father, or probably their sibling. So we become independent as an individual parent. Ako, for example, I'm independent as a mommy. I have my own set of thoughts, of feelings, of behavior as a mommy. My husband also has his own thoughts, his own emotions, his own behavior, belief system as a dad. I'm independent from him, he's independent from me. But at the same time, we have to be dependent to each other. So whoever it is that is your co-parent or co-primary caregiver to your children, you have to be dependent on them. Dependency means you are in interdependency means you are independent at the same time dependent. So you can now work together consistently. So it has to be consistent. Because iba ang pagpapalaki sa spouse mo, iba rin ang pagpapalaki sa'yo ng parents mo. If the both of you will bring that and will not be interdependent with each other, it's going to be chaos, because the way I was brought up is different from the way my spouse was brought up. So we have to be able to communicate with each other, pick out the ones that works, pick up the ones that did not work, and then be consistent with our parenting. It cannot be that one is the good guy and one is the bad guy and one is the favorite kasi he just allows and allows everything to happen, while the other one is the disciplinarian. You have to be interdependent. Second, it is also dictum-oriented. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng dictum? It's a pronouncement that is formal from an authoritative source. So my talk is going to touch on the spirituality, and that I did at the very beginning and along the way. And it's going to touch on psychology and education, because those are my disciplines, so interdisciplinary. So authoritative source. Sino ba mga authoritative source? Of course, the experts in different fields. We have the developmental pediatrician, for example, psychologists, astrologists, social workers, guidance counselors, teachers. Okay? These are experts in their own fields of interest. So, ano yung mga examples ng dictum? So, I'll just use this. This is psychological. This is Erik Erikson's psychosocial stages of development. So, if you can see, iba-iba yung stages: infancy, early childhood, preschool, school age, adolescence, young adult, middle, maturity. Okay? On this side, yeah. Can you see the arrow? There you go. And then you have basic conflict, and then the important events, the key questions to be answered, and the outcomes. I'll just zero in on the grade 7 to 10 students that you have. You can look for this on your own time kung meron kang anak na mas bata sa grade 7 to 10 of your child in Our Lady of Perpetual Soccer. But I'll zero in on that. So adolescents. So the adolescents, 12 to 18, are mostly in Generation Z. And Generation Z, again, is 9 to 24 years old. Okay? So ang basic conflict nila is identity. Sino ako? And now, or they get confused of who they are. Their important events are social relationships. They're social animal at this point, and their social identity. So the question that they ask is, who am I? And during this pandemic, the more they ask that, because suddenly the world that they know halted, and it became constricted face to face, but it now boomed online and digitally. Okay. And where am I going? Right now, the Generation Z, they feel that they are being pushed aside. They are in a closed area, and this gives them some anxiety. I'll talk about more about anxiety later. So if they are successful, they're able to see their identity. They'll be flying and being successful in their studies, in the plans that they have in life, if they're successful in looking at their identity. But if they're not, they lose themselves in the process. And it's going to be a battle and a challenge every day until they find who they are. They have to find who they are in order for them to get into the next phase, which is intimacy versus isolation. We know this as parents. When we got married, when we had a partner, the ceremony, the marriage ceremony with all its glamour, its hype, its preparation did not change us. The woman that went into the wedding ceremony is the same woman that went into the relationship as a mother, as a spouse, as the ilaw ng tahanan, as the haligi ng tahanan. You don't change just like that because you had a ceremony. So you have to be whole as a person. You have to be able to find your identity first as a person before you can go into the next stage, which is intimacy versus isolation. Because it's going to be unsuccessful. If it's not going to be unsuccessful, it's going to have a lot of issues and challenges. You know, I've been counseling couples, even boyfriend, girlfriend, partners, live-in partners, and even marital partners. I can see that it starts off because they don't know who they are to begin with, and they just jump into the marriage, and that's why all these issues are coming. And it's more challenging, but there is hope. It can be worked out if both parties are willing to work it out. Okay, so if you're successful, then your intimacy, your ability to be able to form bonds. By the way, intimacy here is not just looking for the right partner. It's actually being able to connect better with your parents, with your friends, the authentic self you have. Wala nang maskara, no? This is who I am. It's not it's the best version of me now. I can still be better, but this is who I am. If I'm an angry person now, I will do my very best. Intentionality. That's where it comes in, to be a better person. Okay, in that intimate relationship that I have with either my parents, my siblings, my spouse, my children. So intimacy versus isolation. If you're not able to handle it, be successful at it, there's loneliness and you become isolated. You become aloof. You don't want to be part of a relationship. Mostly Gen Y. And some of you are in Gen Y. And then middle adulthood, that's where I am. Generativity versus stagnation. I'm 54 years old and amazing. So generativity versus stagnation is you're not able to give back to society. When I teach, I'm able to give back to society. When I give you a talk, that's me being generativity, where my generativity comes from. I share what I researched on. I share my own experiences. I share my experiences in the various fields that I am into. So usually I share my my counselees without telling who they are, of course, because of confidentiality, and learning from that. How do we become better? When I tell you, for example, that I'm counseling individuals, I'm counseling parents, I'm counseling family, knowledge, that skill set that I know, that lived experiences that I have, and share it with you. That's generativity. If we're not able to be successful with that, we stagnate. Stagnation means feeling natin we're still millennials. Feeling natin we're not able to move from where we are. We get stuck. That's stagnation. So this is just one dictum. This is by Eric Erikson. There's a lot. There's Piaget's cognitive development. You have Kohlberg's moral development. We have Freud's, not the controversial Freud's psychosexual development of a child, of an individual, and many others. Bronson Brenner. This you can know, but this is just an example of what the dictum is. It's a formal pronouncement from an authoritative source. So Eric can research it. But one dictum I find really, really, really beneficial to get into, especially during this time. I haven't seen people more prayerful than in today's pandemic. So as parents, the dictum that we can use is actually the Bible. There's so much to learn about parenting in the Bible. The Bible is telling us to read me because God's promise is ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you shall find. Knock and it will be open to you. Another dictum is, of course, the research is made about different generations. So, for example, the Generation Z learners, they are born into a world with smartphones. The reason why I am using them is because they are the grade 7 to 10 that you are parents of at the moment. So I don't know if you have other children, but I am very sure that you are here because you have children who are grade 7 to 10 in Our Lady of Perpetual Succor. Okay? Firstborn, they are the digital natives, the I generation, the Google Flex generation. They are the digital natives. However, with that gift comes also the burden. The burden of what? So much social media, and sometimes it encroaches and it becomes very negative, like cyberbullying, for example. So we have to take care also of their mental health because right now they're so focused on the digital. They may be the I generation or the digital natives, but not all of them are tech savvy. Pag tech savvy, iba kasi yung gumagamit ka ng apps and you use TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the like, than you knowing how to program, the tech savvy. Program, the IT part of it, the hardware part of it. So they are actually the generation that use their thumbs more. Even sa computer, hindi nila minsan nagagamit yung lahat ng daliri nila. They use their index finger. Okay? They are social entrepreneurs. Oh my God, they're so good. They are self-starters. I've never seen in the lifetime that I've had young people earning so much because they're early starters and they use what they know best. The platform that they use is digital. That's why you see YouTubers, TikTokers, Instagrammers who are earning, are able to monetize their knowledge of this. They're so good at self-starters. They learned from the Generation X and the millennials. The traditional work doesn't actually really give you what you really want in life. So they are entrepreneurs. They are more keen into that. They learn about meaning and purpose. They do not stand also for status quo. Pag sinabing status quo, yung ang babae dapat nasa bahay, yung babae hindi pwedeng magsalita, they're into women empowerment, telling women that they cannot be abused in any manner and form. Okay? They are the game changer. They are Black Lives Matter. They are passionate about that. They're passionate about women that are being raped. It's not because of the women, but because of the rapists. We do not judge or blame the victim. We blame the perpetrator. That's their generation. They're very passionate about that. Dito rin lumalabas in their generation yung LGBTAAP, the LGBT+. That's their gender. Inclusivity and diversity. They are born into information revolution. As I've said earlier, they have so much, everything is in their fingertips. So digitally, they're able to make and create. They have so many great points. They're able to connect and collaborate. The term that they use is hustle and collaboration to create, and they're able to do that digitally. Okay, intentional
Parenting.
Yes. Parenting.
Parenting.
Intentional.
Intentional.
Yes.
Parenting.
Good. Okay, mic off, mic off. They're also social. Their social circle is global. Because it's digital, it's seamless. So they play ML with people who are in the UK, who are in the US. Sometimes it becomes a problem kasi iba yung ating circadian rhythm, the time that we sleep and the time we wake up. Minsan gabi na, gising pa. And sleep is very important in for their mental health. It's restorative theory of sleep. When we sleep, that's the time our body heals. That's the time our body is restored. It's glory and fullness, the way God wants it to be. It's 2 hours of sleep is needed. Isang problema din natin yon, aminin. Sometimes tayo din nagbababad sa Facebook, nagbababad sa Instagram, nagbababad din sa mga YouTube, gustong makakita paano magtanim ng tama, ng bougainvillea. So, or nagbababad sa Lazada, sa Shopee. So, we are part of that too, but we are digital immigrants. Gen Z is easier to capture the audience. They know exactly how to capture the audience online. My son, who is a film director, always tells me, Mom, when I post something, my audience is not you. Kasi sometimes I comment and I comment negatively. Bakit ganitong translation? Bakit mali ang English? Bakit iba yung pagkakasulat? Because you're not my audience. My audience is another group of generation. We have to understand where I am coming from. Ba? So, yun yung generational thing that happens. Iba ang henerasyon ko sa henerasyon nila. They talk in images and emojis. You want to capture the attention of your child? Look at a TikTok that is interesting to you. And then, or a video that is interesting to you. And just say in the table, or while you're watching TV, you're not eating, you're just in the dining area kasi nandun kayong lahat. And then you say, ang cute naman ng dog na to. Sana ganito yung dogs natin. They will swarm in. And say, patingin. Because they want images, emojis. They prefer YouTube than TV. They don't watch TV anymore. Netflix, YouTube, Disney Channel, wala tayo dito, pero ang gagaling nilang kumuha ng mga shows from Disney Channel. Like Vision and Wanda's Vision. Okay? They like information in bite chunks and prefer hands-on learning. So you have to be sure that when you talk to them, it's bite chunks. Kaya nga, they don't like very long. They want
Dalawang, ano yung Sunday?
Ay, nako, may nag-order ng Sunday. Okay. So, make sure that your microphone is off. Okay? So, to be an intentional parent, you just have to remember genetic, organic, developmental, dynamic, interdependent, and victim-oriented. You have to remember, if God is here, how is he going to be a parent? How did God do it? God did it this way. And that's intentional parenting. God did. Genetic, organic, developmental, dynamic, interdependent, and victim-oriented. That's the mnemonic that you can use. So that when you get to have practice your parenting skills and become a better parent, remember God did. How did God do? God did it. Eto. So, punta tayo sa parenting styles. Kasi syempre pag parent, may parenting style. Ang dami! Oh my gosh! Information overload. There are modern parenting styles which fits our parenting styles by Diana Baumrind with the help of Makobi kasi yung neglectful, si Makobi na gumawa nun, and then the unfortunate parenting style. So, to be able to have more time with you in the Q&A, I will discuss it very briefly. And then we can go through it in the Q&A. So pag sinabing positive, it's positive parenting. It came actually from positive psychology by Seligman. Positive psychology, the another term for it is happiness psychology. Just from the word alone, you know that positive parenting brings about happiness. It's happy parenting, empowering the children, strengthening what they have through coaching. You are facilitating, you are processing them. Medyo mahirap pero kaya. Kaya mo ba? Kakayanin mo ba? Looking at the future possibilities, okay, the present time, going to the future, and learning from the past. So looking at the positive things that your children have today and the possibilities that they have in the future. Being a happy parent, which means that you probably have to be less on the do's and don'ts, but rather on processing them. Anong ibig sabihin nito? Positive. A child who is mad at you suddenly, excuse my friend, says, fuck you. How do you react? You do not react. You proact as a positive kid. So you strengthen what they have. First, you have to look at yourself. How did you feel when your child says, F you? Oh, I will feel disrespected. I will feel hurt. And that's what I'm going to communicate to my child. And then ask to validate if exactly that is what they mean. So I really feel hurt and disrespected when you said, it's not the person, when you said, F you. Is that how you wanted me to feel? Disrespected and hurt? And it's not coming from accusing the person, blaming the person, or criticizing your child. ABC. No accusation, no blaming, no criticizing in all of your communication with the child. Okay. So that's positive parenting. And then you look at, kasi anak mo naman, alam mo, mabait yan eh. So you don't know what is going on with her. How come all of a sudden said F you to you? So you process. Okay. Where is that coming from? Next, attachment parenting. Attachment parenting is secured parenting. When we say secured parenting, you are making sure that from the onset, nung infant, as soon as the child is in conception stage, there's already that attachment. This attachment is something miraculous. It's something that we cannot see, but it's there. You're securely attached. So that even if your child works in the US or in Europe in his adulthood, her adulthood, you can still feel your child, know your child. When your child is with you, konting, alam mo kaagad. Ako, mag-umpisa na naman yung asthma mo, tingin ko. Kasi you are so attached to your child. You know your child's every movement. Ngiti ng anak mo, alam mo yung ngiting depressed because there's happy depression. Alam mo yung ngiti talaga. Pag nag-scan siya sa kanyang phone, alam mong masaya siya or parang may pinag-iisipan tong hindi maganda. Diba? That's because of your attachment. It's full trust through connectedness and bonding. It's very intuitive and natural. We're born into it as parents. Lukso ng dugo is secure attachment. We should have started this right from the very beginning. I failed miserably as a parent in my firstborn child because my parents were angry parents, and that's what I saw. I became an angry parent until I learned to be a better parent. Okay, so there's always the way for us to become better. We can remediate. We can become a better parent today to move on tomorrow. Yung past na nagawa natin as parents or children, what can we do about it? Nagawa na eh. Nasabi na natin yung mga masasakit salita. So we move on. And we learn from those mistakes, and then we move on. We become better parents through listening to something like this and researching more about it. Okay? Unconditional parenting. It's conscious parenting. Valuing the child for who or she is. Accepting, supporting the child no matter how he behaves. Can your child go to you when she does something bad? Or will your child hide it from you because he knows the consequences is that when I do something bad, mommy doesn't love me, daddy doesn't love me. When I do something good, mommy loves me, daddy loves me. That's very conditional parenting. Ito, baliktad nun. Unconditional parenting. Conscious parenting. You love your child because of who he is and who she is, not because of what she says or do. Okay? So for example, balik tayo dun sa aking example. If your child tells you, F you, ang sagot ba, bastos kang bata ka para hindi kita tinutuan ng tama, ayot ka. Diba? Yung mga words sometimes that we use are very powerful right that very moment. May kasama pang ganun yun minsan, no? So, wait a minute. That is, you are now degrading the child per se. But you know your child is a good child. So what is it that you don't like? It's actually the things that he told you. The FU. So you separate the action from the person himself or herself. Separate our child from what they do or say that's bad. Because that's not them. Or even what they do and say that's good. Kasi if we now look at what they do and say as if they are the child, then it becomes conditional parenting. We love them only when they do good. Yun ang iniisip nila. We love them only when they do something that we praise. We love them only when they do something that's acceptable to us. But we do not love them when they do. When they break, for example, the blender that we have in the house or the microwave oven that they have in the house, then it's no longer looking at the child he or she is. Ang tanong is, if you're an unconditional parent, it means that your child can go to you no matter what. Can your child go to you even if they did something bad? Kayo ba unang pupunta o tatakbo muna sa kaibigan? Or sa'yo unang magsasabi? Okay? So, unconditional parenting. Spiritual parenting is also known as holistic parenting. Respecting the child for his individuality, for his beliefs. Even if that belief is so different from your belief. Your generations, they're very philosophical. They form their own beliefs. They question status quo. They're not really against it. They just question it. Probably they need more information. How can you be a spiritual person, sabi ni Deepak Chopra? Do not let your child be like you. Be the person you want your child to be. You want your child to be honest? Be honest. You want your child to be faithful? Be faithful. You want your child to be gentle, soft-spoken, respectful, loving, nurturing, good-mannered? Be that person. Be that good-mannered person. Be that respectful, gentle person, calm person, serene person, soft-spoken person. Because the child learns, no matter at what age they are, they learn from our example. That's why we learn from the example of our parents. As parents, matanda na tayo. Pero yung ating ginagamit are still their parenting skills sometimes. Because we learn from them. Again, some of the parenting skills that they use are effective. Some may not be as effective anymore. And last of the 5 modern parenting skills is slow, meaning nurturant. It's not being snail-paced with your parenting, hindi. It's the right speed. You know, I want this COVID-19 to disappear from the face of the earth in Jesus' name. Amen and amen. Soonest. But this pandemic came with blessings. And one of those is we now are able to become slow parents or nurturant parents. Quality over quantity. I sometimes blame our institutional system, educational institutional system, and dami sa curriculum. So right now, because of this digital online thing, they're having blended flexible learning, teachers, administrators are now looking at ano ba talaga ang essential na matutunan ng mga bata. The non-essential can come in later. So we focus on the quality rather than the quantity. So if your child are receiving too much work, too much modules, time probably to talk to the teachers of your children to focus on the quality, right speed, real and meaningful connections na kailangan natin ngayon during this pandemic as parent and parental support we can give to the child. Be present at the moment. The new term that's being used is mindfulness. Mindfulness of the here and now. Savor the moment, so savor the journey. Savor being with your children. But do not also be a toxic parent. Later, I will discuss that. Next, 4 parenting styles of Diana Baumrind. I will discuss it this way. Yung kay Diana Baumrind kasi na 4 parenting style, meron two areas. One is behavior-oriented or task-oriented or yung expectations natin sa ating mga anak. The other one is how we give them warmth and how are we responsive to their needs. So dalawa yun. Pag authoritative parents, it opens space for discussion. Okay? Mataas ang expectation pa rin natin sa kanila. May do's and don'ts, may rules, may discipline sa bahay. Pero pwede natin i-tweak depending on their ages, depending on the circumstances. But it's still high demand. We have a high expectation. But at the same time, we also have a high warmth. We're very loving as well. We are very responsive to their needs. Gusto natin sila maging honor student, aba, ibigay mo kailangan nila para maging honor student sila. Ano bang kailangan nila? They have to have at least the gadgets are needed. They have to have the resources. Okay? They have to have at least very good connectivity online kasi online nga and flexible. You demand too high, pero hindi mo nang binibigay ito. That's not authoritative parenting. Okay? Ang authoritarian parenting is high on demand, ang very high expectations na rin sa ating mga anak, pero walang warmth. Ano ibig sabihin nun? You follow me because I say so. Do not think about it. Do not feel anything about it. Do not act against my will because I am the parent and you are just child. ¿Entiendes? Comprende? Gets mo? That's very authoritarian. It's one of the unfortunate parenting styles. And then the child cannot be who he is or who she is. Parati siyang parang may number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Parang siya nasa eggshell, stepping on eggshell because of authoritarian parenting. The other one is permissive. Ito naman, very indulgent. Low ang expectation. Okay lang kung bagsak ka. Okay lang kung umiinom ka. Okay lang kung naninigarilyo ka. Okay lang kung mag-boyfriend ka. Pero very high ang love. I love you. I love you. I love you. I hug you. I support you. Pero very low ang expectation. Permissive. Pwede lahat. Hala. So the child becomes best bossy. Becomes a star. Becomes highly entitled. Self-entitlement. Way out of line. My father is a policeman. Very entitled. Diba? So, you bring the child even to what? Pag may-away ba kayo ng kapitbahay, yung anak nandyan, wala expectation eh. Very permissive, very indulgent. When the child cannot be in a place wherein there is a commotion going on for the safety of the child. Pero very warm ang parent. Mapalangga. Sa amin, I'm an Ilongga. 18 nga ako, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Mapalangga. The neglectful parent, low ang expectation, low din ang responsiveness. Ano to? Wala akong pakialam. Bahala ka sa buhay mo. Kumain ka na, I don't know. Ano gusto mong ulam, hindi ko alam. Nag-aral na ba yan? Hindi ko alam. Nakatapos ba ng modules niya? Pumasok ba sa online schooling niya? Hindi ko rin sure. Bahala ka na sa buhay. That's very neglectful. It's also part of toxic parenting. So, ito yung mga toxic parenting. Marami pa to. Ito lang yung ibibigay ko sa inyo as example. Helicopter parenting. Yung hovering. Ako nandyan sa bawat time na nandyan ang anak. Nag-online ang anak, nandyan ka din sa tabi. Pag may tanong ang teacher, meron kang cue card. Tapos ito yung sagot. Ito yung sagot. Sagutin mo si teacher. Ito. Pag mali ang sagot ng anak, didilatan ng anak. Diba? What? Mali ang sagot. Hovering. Nandyan the whole time. No? Yung anak, pagod na sa kakagawa ng assignment. Nag-homework ka kasi, hindi mo magawa. Akin na. Ako na lang gagawa nga para matapos na to. Mahirap talagang maging nanay. Pagod yan, mahirap. Ito ginagawa yung trabaho ng anak mo. So, helicopter parenting. Ito yung mga parating nagko-complain sa teacher, kinakausap ng teacher. Pag if the child doesn't do the assignment, nandun na. Ang haba na ng text message sa teacher. Teach, my child wasn't able to do his assignment. You know, we didn't have the connectivity. We didn't have to do that. We don't have ikaw na bibigyan ng grade ni teacher. Kasi naka-hover ka the whole time sa anak mo, di ba? Nandiyan ka overprotective. Why? Because you're of fear. You're protecting your child from fear. Baka bumagsak yan. Baka ako ano mangyari dyan. So you distrust the ability of the child to take care of himself and to make decisions for himself or herself. That's helicopter parenting. Nakaka-relate ba yung iba? Okay, next, narcissistic. Ito naman, driven by the need of the parent. Ako ang importante. Ako ang star. It is my glory. Kaya matalino kasi matalino ako. Yan. Kaya yan successful. Kasi ako naging magulang eh. Diba? Narcissistic. You identify with your child's accomplishment as if it is your accomplishment. Si child ang naging honor student, pero parang ikaw ang naging honor student. Diba? Parang ikaw yung accomplishment ko to. Accomplishment ng bata. So the child needs come second to the needs of the parent. The parent is always the star. That's very narcissistic. And toxic parenting is all the other parenting. Blanket term natin sa all the neglecting children's needs. How? By directly, physically, emotionally, and sometimes sexually abusing the child. I have counselors who were molested, sexually abused by uncles, by even their own dads. Really toxic parenting to the highest level. If you neglect the child, if you physically, emotionally, and sexually abuse her. Toxic parenting completely destructs the child's self-concept, self-esteem, self-regulation, child becomes so minute, so little. Sometimes very negligible because of
grade. Kasi lagi ka naman nakadikit sa anak mo.
Okay. It's good that you're able to discuss things because that means that you are listening. Just turn off your mic. Baka malaman namin yung inyong mga issues and concerns at the moment. Pwede ho natin pag-usapan yan later. Okay. So this positive parenting, attachment parenting, unconditional parenting, spiritual parenting, slow parenting, and authoritative parenting are all gearing towards intentional parenting. While the rest, authoritative, permissive, neglectful, helicopter, narcissistic, are all part of toxic parenting. It is not intentional parenting. Why are these now all intentional parenting? Because it fits the criteria. It's genetic, it's organic, it's developmental, it's dynamic, it's independent. How did God do it? God did it this way. If Jesus was alive and is faced with this dilemma, how would Jesus do it? Jesus did it this way. God did. Yan yung ating acronym or yung ating mnemonic so that we can better grasp or better recall, encode it in our mind so that we can recall it later. Okay, so now, these are tips that I've seen work for me and for the parents that I counsel, for the individuals that I counsel, for the children that I counsel, special and regular. Special means they are SPED, exceptional learning, and those who are normal. So when faced with a dilemma, what did Jesus do? Jesus always fought. When he was asked to stone Mary, the adulterer, in public, and this Pharisees, Sadducees came to him, the experts of the law. They said, according to Moses, if a woman is caught in adultery, He has to be stoned to death. Pa. Imagine mo, child mo yun, may ginawang masama. Anong gagawin? Stoned to death. You know what Jesus did? Instead of responding right away, he paused. He stooped down and he wrote something in the ground. What did he write? Probably he was praying. Some says yung mga kasalanan siguro ng mga nag-accuse dun sa babae. But I think he was praying. And then he stood up and said, cast the first stone if you have no sin against, if you have no sin. Cast the first stone to this woman if you do not have any sin. And then he stooped down again, pausing, pause. And then he wrote something against the ground. And when he stood up, wala na yung mga accusers. And he said, woman, where are your accusers? They left one by one. I forgive you, but sin no more. That's what he said to the woman. Every time Jesus is faced with challenges, ipag-usap siya sa crowd, katapos niya lang feed ng 5,000 and more, tapos nila mag-calm ng storm, or bago siya i-crucify, he paused. And in pausing, he prayed. No? Hindi siya ginather niya yung kanyang mga apostles at kanyang mga disciples and says, protektahan niyo ako. Ito yung strategy natin. No, he did not. He paused. He paused. Pausing is good. It gives us a stop. So when your child says, F you, ka, you don't immediately respond. Kasi automatic, you want to react. Parang, F you ka din! Di ba? Don't. You pause. Breathe in, breathe out. Exercise is breathe in, breathe out. Your child asks you, Mom, can I go out? Sino naman sa kapitbahay? I know naman that it's, we still cannot go out and I'm a child, I'm only 16. But it's just, in the other house. It's just the house next to that and next to that. The neighbor pa rin naman. What do? You pause. You don't neglect that question. You say, Nak, can I think it over? Thinking it over is positive. And I'll get back to you. Okay. You pray about it. If it's something that you can no longer handle, lift it up to God. God said, give me your yoke, for my burden is light. Cast it upon me. Ako. If you don't have control of things like the pandemic, you don't have control. Financially, we're burdened. Emotionally, we're burdened. People are dying left and right. Kamag-anak, pamilya, pwede sa sarili nating household. COVID is real. It's out of our control. A great weapon. And you persevere to become an intentional parent. God did. And when you can no longer do it, or during the time you're praying, God is reaching out and saying, you reach out to others. You reach out to your co-parents. You seek professional help already. This is the time to seek professional help. Ayan, syempre, i-advertise din sa sarili. You can seek professional help. You can give me a text. You can call me. But of course, this is with the fee, ha? Baka sabihin niyo, oy, libre, hindi po. May fee ho yan. And we can discuss that. We also give in RCWFI 30-minute free counseling. We call it Care Line right now. It's ongoing. You just go to rcwcares.org. We have consultants, counselors on standby who will get the call for 30 minutes. But you cannot really counsel for just 30 minutes. It's just immediate, to hold, to give you that pause. I do counseling again for individuals, couples, parents, relationships, families. I bring them in sometimes. Kasi pamilya na po ang problema eh. The identified patient came to me, but it's concerns about the whole family. I do my on-site in RCWFI Varsity Hills, Loyola Heights, none at the moment because of the surge to protect our clients and to protect also our counselors and our consultants. I do a lot of counseling online. Sabi ko nga kay Miss Claire a while ago, it works. Nobody thought before. I couldn't even imagine helping people online, giving therapies online, but it works because it provides another, parang yung personal space nila. Hindi talaga siya totoong face-to-face, but I see them, videos. We do a lot of exercises. I stand up. I let them stand up. I teach them how to breathe better. I teach them techniques, how to make things work better, to become better parents, better person, better children. Okay? So if you cannot do it, reach out to your friends. Observe. Sino ba yung parent na magaling? You do not compare yourself with the parent. You look at what is it that they are doing. You ask help, ask, and you shall receive. Knock and you shall find. Seek and you shall find. Knock and it will be open to you. Never compare your child with anyone. Never compare yourself as a parent with anyone else. Comparison is the root of unhappiness. There are people who will be greater and less than you. That's just the truth, the fact. And last, this is how I really see things in my counseling when I am together with my counselors. If it's a parent, a child, a couple, or family, when one starts shouting and the other shouts as well, I see that they both have right. Meron tama sa kanilang dalawa. Hindi lang sila magkaintindihan because the perspective is different. There's an elephant in the room. The child sees the butt. The mom sees the trunk. It's still part of the elephant. But none of them see the whole elephant. Iba ang perspective. Iba ang generation perspective, the circumstances of their perspective. But when one starts to shout, it builds a wall immediately. When the other starts to shout, it builds the wall also of the other person. And if the wall is up and they keep on shouting and shouting, though the wall doesn't go up only, it also thickens. In all my practice, all throughout these years, shouting doesn't penetrate the other person. Shouting does not solve the problem. It heightens the problem. It probably releases, it becomes cathartic, but it becomes more fruitful. Because when you start becoming angry, when you start to shout, you say things that are just so hurtful and you cannot take it back. It builds walls against each other. Nothing gets through to the other person when the shouting begins. Nothing. I've never solved any concerns, facilitated, moderated, coached, that shouting became the venue. I use that independently. Sometimes I let them shout on their own. Ikaw kang gusto mo. Abot nga, maus ka kung gusto mo. But when you start shouting at another person, it builds wall, it thickens the wall, nothing penetrates. Now, understanding, no comprehension, no empathetic listening, nothing at all. Okay. All of us, we have different emotions. And all emotions actually are good. Anger is good, ma'am. Anger is good because it prompts you to become better. Anger by itself is not bad. It's a way for you to process things. Bakit nga ba ako galit? What you do with the anger, what would you do with the depression, what do you do with the sadness, the loneliness that makes it negative? Kung yung anger mo made you hit your child, then the anger becomes bad. But the anger first is something that you need to process. Sometimes it's not even about the child. It's your toxic nostalgia. The things that your parents did to you, bumabalik sa'yo because of what your child did to you. It's not really about the child. It's about you and your own issues and concerns and challenges. As I've said earlier, when you go into a marriage, when you become a parent, you don't become a different person. We're still the same person. It's intentional parenting that is needed. You really intend to be a better parent. Do I need it? Do I want it? Can I do it? Those are the three questions that you have to ask yourself and explain why or why not. This helps so many people. This helps me so much as a parent. Praying about serenity or the prayer of serenity. Everybody, can you turn on your microphone and pray this with me? It's a very simple prayer. When you pause, diba? You pause, you connect with a greater good, and that is God. And you pray this. Everybody pray with me. Grant
God, give me
The
the
serenity
serenity
that
that I
those
accept
cannot
the
change.
things I
cannot
cannot
change.
change.
Change the things that I
I
can
can
Courage to
change.
to know
change
the
the
difference.
things that I
Wisdom to
can
know the
wisdom
difference.
to know the difference.
Okay. Turn off your mic. Turn off your mic. Turn off your mic. It's a very simple prayer. It's a prayer that you can easily memorize. When you pause, you pray, God, grant me the serenity to change, to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. When given the gift and the burden of being the parents of our children, let our reply be like Mary and Joseph. Yes, with intentionality, trusting and obeying God fully and completely according to God's purpose of our children. When a child is conceived, God already has a purpose for that child. Let that purpose come alive and in fulfillment. It's God's purpose. It's God's master plan for your child's life that is important. We are now act as the facilitator, as the moderator, as the coach, as the mentor of the child. And let me leave you with this poem, which you can reflect on greatly as you answer the question, do I need to be an intentional parent? Do I want to be an intentional parent? Can I do it? Can I be an intentional parent? Kailangan ba? Gusto ko ba? Kaya ko ba? Let this guide you in your reflection. This is a poem by Khalil Gibran. It's one of my favorites as a parent. The title is On Children. And let me read it to you. You can read this silently as we go along. Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you, for the life goes not backward, nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bow from which your children, as living arrows, are set forth. The archer, that's the purpose, sees the mark upon the path of the infinite. He then bends you with his might, and his arrow may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness. For even if, as he loves the arrow that flies, so he loves also the bow
Ang ginagawa mo
that
dyan?
is stable.
Ba't nandyan ka?
Breathe in, parents. Let's breathe in. Breathe in with me. Breathe in. Everybody breathe in. Breathe in 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. You hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. You breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4. You hold it 1, 2, 3, 4. You breathe in again 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's what you call box breathing. You can do it when you pause. We are all a work in progress as parents. Let us be kind to ourselves, to our spouse, to our children, and to everyone we meet face to face, virtually or digitally. Thank you and continue to be an amazing blessing for God's greatest and highest glory. God is good.
All
All
the
the
time.
time.
All the
All
time.
the time.
All the
Time.
time.
Thank you,
God is
teacher.
God
good.
Thank
is
you
good.
po.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Thank
so much
you.
for listening.
Formative.
And yes.
Thank you.
So let's
Thank you
go now to
po.
your question
Thank
and
you.
answer. Thank you so much for inviting me. So let's have 15 minutes of Q&A. Do we still have time, Miss Padua and Miss Cassandra? Do you have
Yes,
questions?
ma'am.
I saw questions coming in. Okay. Sige. Let's do this. Let's do it. Shoot the questions.
Okay po. Right. So once again, ma'am, thank you for that very enlightening talk. So we will proceed with the question and answer portion. I have here some questions po na
Yes,
nagain
sure.
from the chat box. So
Okay.
the first one would be from Miss Dana. What is your advice on how and what to tell to your children that not all you see and read in the internet is true?
Oh, that's a very interesting question and a very relevant question at this particular moment. What do I tell to my child that not everything he sees
Yes.
in the internet is true? Okay. Number one is you pause and you pray. You look at the child, exactly what is it that he is looking at. Kasi it cannot be a general thing. You have to be able to see ano naman ang fact and ano yung hindi fact. The only way to find out is when you see exactly what are the things that are not true that your child is seeing and thinking, totoo ito. And
Mm-mm.
it's really not the telling. Alam niyo yung telling. We've found out, even in my counseling session, that it doesn't work as well as asking questions. So you ask your child questions that will make her or him think critically about that situation without, again, the ABC. Ano yung ABC? Accusing the child, blaming the child, or criticizing the child. So it has to be very specific. It cannot be general. So what is it he sees? For example, can you give me an example who gave that question? Ano yung nakita ng bata na hindi totoo, pero para sa bata, totoo siya?
Hi, Ma'am Dana. You're still there po?
Yes,
Yes.
Miss Dana.
The internet. I'm back.
Hello po.
Yes, hi,
Can you
Miss
give
Dana.
us
That's a very interesting
examples po
question. Can you give me an
regarding with the question
example?
po?
Sometimes about health. Most of the time, since they're very conscious about their how they look physically, so we tell them about dieting. You know how it is right in TikTok. So we tell them that it's not true. This is it's not true that you can just eat that and you're gonna be healthy and okay. You should have
Okay, good. So it's about, let's just say it's about dieting. And children
Yeah.
think this is correct, this is better, this is that, this is that.
Yeah.
As a parent, you know naman that the children has to eat nutritionally, nutritious food. You have to look at what diet that is he or she is actually looking at. And then research on it. For example, keto diet. My son is into keto diet right now. And I feel that in the beginning, I feel it might not be the right diet for him. But I cannot immediately tell him it might not be good for you because I don't know what it is all about. So I researched on the keto diet and I saw that it has positive and negative. And instead of me telling him is a Gen X, Gen Z, but older Gen Z, I now have a Yung communication kasi you have to build on it. I'm now able to discuss with him as an adult and ask him about the keto diet. So, ma'am, alam mo ba? Ganito kasi yan magsalita. Ma'am, alam mo ba? Yeah, that's how he starts when he's so excited. Ma'am, alam mo ba? Itong keto diet na to. This is the diet that I really need for myself at this moment. Yan. So, I let him talk. I ask questions about the diet. So, what is it? Can you eat carbs? Can you eat this? Can you eat that? Is it something that you can do with what? With your age right now? Is it good for men? Is it good for people who are working? Is it going to be healthy for you? Are you not going to feel weak when you are out there? Kasi hanggang ngayon, may shoot siya outside eh. When you shoot outside. So it really is not the telling part, Miss Mami Dana. It's more of being interested in the interest of what it is that your child wants to diet on. You become inquisitive. Again, no accusation, no blaming, no criticizing. So the way to do it is to ask questions, know more about it, and do not dismiss it right away. It's not good for you. Hindi mo pa nga nakikita yung diet, not good na kaagad. So, alam mo muna, ano yung diet, diba? And then you can now research on that. I'll get back to you on this one. Sige nga, tingnan ko, baka it would also work for me. No? Kasi there are children really who are very conscious. At that age, at the age that your children, grade 7 to grade 10, talagang yung physical plays a very important part. And sometimes they think they know better. Sometimes they really do know better. So we have to research. Back it up with facts. Back it up by things that are, and also substitute. Anong mas pwede? But ask questions. Ask inquisitive, interesting questions. That will make them think. Instead of telling. I hope I answered your question, Mommy.
Yes
Dana.
po, very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Other questions, please?
So another question po. Last question would be from Miss Maria po. As parents, do we need to adapt to their generation? What about our generation?
Ayan, very good question. Miss Mommy Maria, very good question. Do we need to adapt to the generation of our children? How about our own generation? This is where your creativity should come in. In order for us to communicate, we have to sometimes use their jargon. Gets mo? Ano pa ba mga jargon nila? Awit, diba? Ano pa ba yung mga jargons ng mga bata na
YOLO, ma'am, YOLO.
Okay, YOLO. Iba yung mga jargons nila sa atin. In order to be able to communicate with them, we have to be able to understand their jargon. Sometimes use it, like when I do my communication with my children, if I go to a counseling room with a 16-year-old counseling client, I have a session with her, I use their jargons so that I can understand better and they can understand me better. But I also offer, alam nyo, dati yung tawag nyo kasi ngayon sa boyfriend, girlfriend nyo, baba, di ba? Babe, yan ang mga tawag. Or yung tawag nyo sa inyong mga friends, pare. Kasi di ba meron ngayong umuso sa TikTok na social yung konyo. Well, pare. Yan naman kasi pare. I don't know, pare. Di ba? And alam mo sa generation namin, ang tawag namin dyan, re, papi, paps. So sa inyo ngayon, pare. Or sa, bro. Sa amin dati, re, papi, paps. Or ngayon, ang mga terms nila, Mars, sis. Sabi ko dati, lumayo ko dati tinatawag na sis. So, parang hindi naman kita kaano-ano, ba't mo ko tatawagin sis? But, it's something that when you see the benefit of it, it's good to be called a sis, Mars. I use it now. So what about our generation? We adapt what we need to adapt in order to become effective and efficient as parents. God did. And then keep our own self as we are. We don't have to wear what they wear. Like, for example, yung mga halter tops, di ba? the
Mhm.
halter top, or we don't have to do that. We don't have to adapt in the way we wear if it doesn't fit us. If it fits you, why not? Ako, I'm open to the possibility. Pero yung parang nagmumurang kamatis ka naman, medyo wag muna. You get the limelight from your children, and it's their time to shine, let them shine. If it's your time to shine, let's shine. So iba-iba yung henerasyon natin. We have our own time, and they have their own time. Adapting to what is effective and efficient in order for us to become better parents, yes. But to take off the limelight from them, no. Okay? We have to keep ourselves, be authentic to ourselves. Authenticity is something that is real. We cannot, make it unreal for us. Did I
Mhm.
answer your question, Mommy Maria?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Ayan. Thank you so much po, Miss Evie. Thank you for your questions, our dear parents and guardians.